Aloha, Richard Halverson here. This is ICS211, and I'm gonna do lab 12.7 and 12.8. So let me share my screen. And so here's lab 12.7. We're doing exception handlers. So the idea here is that we write a program that reads in these two numbers, these two integers, and it outputs user num divided by div num. And there's two things that can go wrong. One is that you might divide by 0, which is wrong. The div num could be 0, and that's going to cause an exception. And the other thing is that you're asking for two integers. So if you type in like a floating point number, something with a decimal point, then that's going to cause an exception. That's going to cause an input mismatch exception. This is the divide by 0 exception. Use the catch block to catch arithmetic exception and output the exception message using get message. For output mismatch, we're going to output the exception message using toString, and you'll see what the difference is. And this explains what happens. All right, so so we're supposed to write the code here. So I'm going to say, well, try. I'm going to try to, first I'm going to read in user num, right? User num and div num. Int user num equals scnr dot next int. And then int div num equals scnr next int. And print system.out.println user num div divided by div num. I'm going to spell it correctly. So if everything's fine, that's done. Otherwise, I'm going to catch. And I'm going to start by, let's say I didn't know what the names of these were, but I did know that I wanted to catch both of them. We can start out by doing this. I'm just going to catch any exception. And I'm going to call it EX. And I go system out print ln EX toString. This prints out the whole thing. So like if we go, let's say we start out by, we're going to do 10 divided by 2, or 10 divided by 2. That's the input, and when we run it, it's going to print out 5. Yes. Let's do 10 divided by 2.0. I get the input mismatch exception. Input mismatch exception. And if I do a 10 divided by 0, I get a arithmetic exception. And this is the message, divide by 0. For the other one, there wasn't a message. It was just a type mismatch here. All right, so these are my two exceptions. Well, I just need to add them up here. The first one is they want me to do toString here. Mismatch is going to be toString, and arithmetic is going to be get message. So I'm just going to make this be this one here. 5.0. So this one here, oops, right here, I'm going to do this. Catch that EX, and I want a system. Let's copy this. This is what I want. And so that's going to work. Let's see this now. Oh, wait. No, I wanted to say this, not that. I wanted just to say this. That colon input. That's the exact thing. Okay, so I wanted to print quote that plus. So that's what I wanted to print. Yes. And if I'm doing divide by 0, this is the get message. So if I were to go get message, well, let me put this up here first. Copy. And let's make this get message like that. And let's see what this says. Oops, I got to put this. Copy. Plus. All right, that's pretty dang close. I think you can take it from there. So let's see what this one is. What's the time? Oh, well, okay, a pedometer treats walking 2,000 steps as a mile. Write a steps to miles method that takes the number of steps as an integer and returns the miles as a double. Steps to mile method throws an exception object with the message exception negative step count entered when the number of steps is negative. Complete the main method that reads the number of steps from the user, calls a step to miles, and then outputs the return value. Use a try catch to catch any exception thrown by the steps to miles method. All right, and they would like us to use this. It's very nice. They give us the print statement. All right, so here's my code. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is here's my void. Oh, my method goes up here. So I guess I can start making my method first. And it's going to be public. There's no way I got to copy that from someplace. Let me go up to this example here. Something that looks like, oh, there's no. Oh, methods. something that looks kind of like this. I'm going to copy this here. And I'm going to go back to doing this one. Here. I copied that and I wanted to say public static double, what am I supposed to call it? Steps to miles. Steps to miles. And I'm gonna read in an integer, which is the number of steps. So it's going to be an integer. This is what it's going to be passed to me, is number of steps. And it can throw an exception. It can throw an exception. Yes, it throw an exception that it does not handle. And so then all we're going to do is to throw the exception, it's if num steps is less than 0, then throw a new exception and make the error be exception. What should the error be? Here we go. This. It should be this. Copy, paste. Otherwise, and if this thing gets thrown, then this will just end. So we don't really need to do it else, but let's do it anyway. I think it's a little cleaner. We're going to return user steps. No, I'm sorry, num steps divided by, and the fact we divide it by a floating point number means we'll return a floating point number. And I guess I have to close this and close this. Okay, so this is our method, and it can throw an exception that it cannot handle. And so it's up to the caller to handle it. Okay, here we're gonna read in some code. We're gonna read in the number of steps, aren't we? So an integer scanner, no, integer called input steps, that's what's going to come in, equals scanner dot next int. And so once we have that, we're going to try to calculate the num miles. It's not an integer, it's a double. Double num miles equals steps to miles input steps. Okay, and so that's either going to work. Oh, I gotta print it out. System out print. Oh, it gives it to me, doesn't it? Copy. Paste. I'm going to call it your value, but why don't you call it num miles or something? I'm just being stupid here because of that. And then oh, we have a catch. And it's going to be an exception coming in because of this. It might throw an exception. It's not named, it's just exception. And I'm going to call it X. And if we get the exception, I'm going to just print out the exception. System out print line EX get message. So if I enter in 3,000, I get 1.15 miles. Is that what it's supposed to output as? Oh, just like that. Okay. If I enter minus 3,000, it should give you minus miles because how do you say, like, if you're going to run backwards? It's just, there's a guy in my neighborhood that runs backwards. Okay. Probably better for his legs or something. But anyway, that's not what this asks. And then what else was I supposed to check? Is that it? I guess that's it. Well, anyway, I think that's it. So I've helped you with lab 12.7 and 12.8. Thanks for watching.